What up, no? This is Knockouts and Three Counts. It is another Thursday, and man, we might as well call this one Throwdown Thursday because we got the return of our guy El Toro, Mando Gutierrez, before he steps in the cage for Fury FC. But before we get to that, we got to tell you who's bringing you this fine show, and that's thanks to our sponsors over there at Potter's Tree Service. With that being said, I'm about to show you here in a minute what they are capable of doing. But if you're in the need for tree removal, tree trimming, chipping service, storm damage cleanup, walnut logging, or lot clearing, Potter's Tree Service are your guys. But I'll just show you for yourself, and the links are in the description.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and Three Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and Three Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and Three Counts starts now.
What up, no? It is Thursday. This is Knockouts and Three Counts, and like I said, without any further ado, we have our guy Mando El Toro Gutierrez before he steps into the cage for Fury FC, fresh off the Ultimate Fighter. So there's a lot to talk about. Mando, how you been, my guy?
I've been good, brother. How you guys doing?
I'm breathing. It's better than that 35-degree weather we had yesterday, so I'm all right.
Oh yeah,
How about you, Corey?
Dude, it was all 4 seasons in one day. It was like nice and sunny.
I say that about Michigan all the time, damn it. Like I tell people, like we get all the seasons. It could be 80 degrees the day before too.
It's like a whole stretch of like 2 months where you got to dress for all 4 seasons throughout the day, and that's the worst 2 months.
As somebody that works outside, man, I went from having my heated jacket, running, kicking, had that boy full red, to, all right, let me turn off the heat because it's getting hot. All right, let me unzip, to, all right, let me take off the jacket. All right, let me take off the long sleeve. Yeah, it was one of those days for sure. Got the fluctuation in temperature for sure. No wonder everybody around us is getting sick. But besides the point, man, how are you feeling going back into Fury FC, man? It's got to be an exciting feeling.
Long time coming, bro. I've been waiting so long for this. Like the one, like, being on the show was awesome. It was such a huge blessing and like one of the best memories that I've ever had and I'll ever have in the rest of my life. But god damn, bro, like they put us on ice for so long. Like you can't fight until the show's done airing. And I was at least trying to be proactive and like I did a lot of stuff during that time. Like I still did a lot of jiu-jitsu and stayed busy and just really like made a name for myself in the jiu-jitsu scene and just try to carry that energy into this. And now it's finally time, you know. I wish it would have happened sooner, but hey, late is better than never. And it can't be a bigger event than this. I'm super excited. It's gonna be a dope fight, and I'm ready to go.
Well, we're gonna go ahead, Corey.
That's one thing I was definitely thinking about all you athletes on the show, man. was like you say, whether you win, lose, or draw on the actual show, like you say, you got to end up waiting until the show plays out in its entirety before you guys can do anything further with your career. And at that point in your career, you guys are at that hot stage where you're taking fights every couple months, and to kind of, like you say, put yourself on ice, and at least you're able to focus on your skills and round out other aspects of your game and still continue to train and improve yourself during that time. But it's nice to have that goal that you're looking at currently with the fight being booked and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Well, with that said, before we get to Fury FC and all that, you kind of touched on something that I wanted to talk to you about. It was awesome to see you out there doing your thing. We saw you giving Connor a fade and all that good stuff as well. But tell me, what are your thoughts on the overall experience of the Ultimate Fighter? How do you feel like it benefited you? Like, what are your biggest takeaways?
So the thing about it is, even before I ever had the slightest clue that I was going to be a fighter, I knew for a fact that, like, I love the show, and I watched every single season since I was little. And being on the other side of it, growing up being such a big fan of the show, like, actually my wrestling coaching. So, like,
no shit.
I had people that were actually competing on it. I knew a lot of people that have been on it, and I knew a lot of people involved with it. But actually being in it, it's nothing like what I expected. It's totally different. I was prepared for the competition and all that, of course, but the biggest takeaway, not fighting related, is that it's not a fight show. It's a TV show. They don't, like, it really seems like they don't give two shits about you as a fighter. They care about you as being good for TV. So, like, before the show started, they had us in a hotel for 10 days in a hotel room with no gym, no nothing. All we had was like a little like hotel gym. And we all knew that we had to fight as soon as we got in the house. So they're feeding us like Applebee's and like other restaurants, and expected us to be tip-top shape and primed and ready to go on 10 days notice, really. But off of eating, like rolling off the couch pretty much and eating Applebee's, it's kind of weird. But like I said, it's not a fight show. They don't care about the fight stuff. They care about you being a TV show guy. So they just expect you to just go out there and fight, and that's it. So that part was really, it took some getting used to.
Yeah, I could imagine, man. I mean, doing push-ups on the hotel floor, trying to stay on weight and shit. I could just imagine that's got to be a weird experience. Like you say, leading into potentially the biggest moment in your career. It's got to be a weird feeling.
Yeah. Lucky for me, I took the preparation leading up until I left for the show was incredible. That was the best preparation I've had in my entire life. My diet was on point. Everything was great. And then it all got messed up when I got out there and I had to start asking for permission to go on a run outside for 30 minutes. And all I had was 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn.
You better get ready for this TV life, man. But with that said, tell me, obviously we know here at home you train with Murcielago, but you got to tell me, man, what was training with Connor like? What are your thoughts on his training methods versus what you're used to? Like, I know every coach is different, so how was the training?
The training was dope. I honestly liked it a lot. I don't think the show painted a really wrong picture of what Connor was for us on the show. I mean, the dude brought a full arsenal of tools for us. Like, he brought his nutritionist, his personal chef, strength and conditioning, striking coach, wrestling coach, jiu-jitsu coach, everything. He brought everything, and it was all at our disposal. He gave us absolutely everything. His personal chef was working for us. His nutritionist was working for us. And it was dope. But the training itself was really nice. I liked it. I learned a lot from him, being a southpaw and being able to learn a lot of little tips and tricks that he had, because his coach Roddy's actually a southpaw as well. So shout out to them. The one big difference from them to us is we're a really hard-nosed team here. We're really nitty-gritty, and we get better with the bodies that we have in the room. Coach leads a good practice, and he knows he has a hot hand. He has a good troop, and he puts those troops at war every single day. And we push ourselves a lot, and we damn near redline every day. But that's just the way I like it. I came from a wrestling background, so that's what I'm accustomed to. But when it comes to Connor's training, there's a lot more of a mental approach. Rather than physically intense, it's mostly mentally intense. and that was a big gear switch for me. But it helped me a lot. It helped me be more present in my training rather than just go, 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 go. You know, I was learning things, taking the time to actually learn a position, work the position, and get better. And I feel like I brought a lot of tools home that I didn't have before, so I can't complain one bit.
Yeah, it's got to be such an interesting dynamic. And as somebody that went through it with the show and stuff, I mean, looking back on it, are you with the whole format, the way it played out with the veterans versus the newcomers and stuff like that, and the way that they split the whole team? Yeah, that exactly my kind of thought leading into it when I seen it, especially knowing that I had, people, friends essentially on the show. My thoughts were exactly do you wish, besides having Connor as a coach and stuff like that, or potentially switching sides or anything like that, do you wish they would have just split the teams up so that you would have had maybe some of those vets incorporated on your team as well?
I personally didn't care how it was gonna go. I didn't know if it was gonna be a team of prospects versus a team of vets. In my head, personally, I thought that it was gonna be a bracket of prospects versus and then a bracket of pro or veterans, and then the winner of each bracket was gonna face each other in the finale.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was gonna be like an old school versus new school type thing, but that wasn't the case at all. So I was looking at the prospects like those were the guys I was gonna fight, when in reality it ended up being that the vets were the guys we were gonna fight. But then again, like I said, nothing happens the way that you think it's gonna happen on the show. I thought the first day they explained it to us, number 1 seed is going to face number 4 seed, this and that, yada, yada, right? Well, Chandler has a wrestling background, so he has a deep, deep understanding of the bracket system and the seeding system. He knew that number 4 was going to face number 1. Mm-hmm. So when Connor said that I was his number 1, Chandler already had his matchups in mind. He knew what matchups he wanted so he could clean house. And rather than having a balanced approach to the bracket and having the 2 best guys in the finals, it ended up being a lot of the guys got knocked out early on. Fair play to Chandler. That's cool and all, but he ruined the whole fucking show. That was the whole point. Guys get beat, guys move on. And that's how it's supposed to go. But I guess in a way, that's how it played out anyways, but that's not how I was expecting it to go at all. Coming into the house and seeing, or not even coming into the house, coming into the hotel where everybody was walking around. Oh, and another side note, there was 24 guys there for 16 spots.
I know, because Kenny got bumped off there too.
Yeah.
Last minute, yep. And everything happens the way it's supposed to happen, I guess. But they were booting guys last minute. But I was keeping track in my mind, like who's here, what weight class are they going to be, who are they? And we were locked in the room all day, so I was studying film on everybody. And in my mind, as soon as I started really looking through the lineup, I was like, okay, it's going to be me and Cody Gibson in the finals. And I knew it. And I knew it was going to be me and Cody. I had a feeling. And then that happens when they announced the first matchup. And I'm like, oh, fucking course. It's me and him in the first round. But in a way, I was okay with it because I knew that at that moment, I was the best version of me possible. And I was like, if I can't beat him in the first round, I won't beat him in the finals. So it doesn't make a difference. If I beat him now, I'm the champion regardless. And in my mind, I was ready to go out there and win. I was fully prepared to win. And I felt like I was doing great in that fight up until
you had a good fight, bro.
He went Super Saiyan. I mean, that's not really something I can be mad about. It was just a perfect shot, perfect timing. Honestly, that makes it a little easier to get over than me going out there and getting fucking demolished for 3 rounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a big difference. And I felt like I was holding my own. I felt like I was starting to pull away and starting to really take the energy until that happened. I was starting to sway the energy of the fight and the momentum of the fight. I was taking all that. And then, bam, perfect shot, perfect timing. So hats off to him, man. He's a fucking G.
But that's a great mindset on it, though, man, because you're looking at it as, look, you got caught. And I could totally agree with that because it's the same as that I'd have to imagine that it would be an even bigger blow if you had went for 15 minutes and lost on a decision. You get caught. Anybody can get caught. Everybody's got a knockout button.
Hey, but here's the thing, though. I hate that word. You can't say I got caught because there is a tiny bit of luck involved or bad luck on my end, whatever it is. but he knew he was gonna do that. He timed that and he threw it. He got his read and he did it, and it just so happened to be at the perfect time, perfect place, perfect everything, and just a little bit of luck. So I can't call it getting caught. I think he just threw the perfect shot. You know,
Yeah.
he beat me fair and square, and I'm just like, fuck it. You know, it is what it is. On to the next one. I could have done some things different, of course. There's a lot of shit I could have done in that fight. Like I rewatched it a million times. Little adjustments would go a long way in that fight. So that's a good thing, you know. If I was perfect right now, I'd be in trouble because I'm barely scratching the surface, and it's coming at the perfect time right now where I'm scratching the surface of the UFC and I'm getting to that point and I'm ready to go, man. So that's what this next fight's all about. I'm gonna go out there and show it.
Well, with
Yeah.
that said, it kind of brings up a question that I want that brought up what you've been doing in between there. Like you said, you haven't been able to fight, but I've been keeping up on what you've been doing with like submission hunters and all the stuff you've been doing in the grappling. And was you getting back a little bit to your wrestling roots, something that you felt like you wanted to get back into and maybe employ more grappling headed into your fight with Fury FC? Because I feel like you even have already mentioned in this show, you know, with your wrestling background, you are willing to bang with anybody. I've seen a lot of your fights at this point, and I feel like from what I saw at Submission Hunters, you can get it done on the mat too. So do you feel like finding more balance is what you're looking for in this next fight?
In reality, what I want to do is I want to find the perfect version of me, you know, the most efficient version of me. And it's been all hands on deck lately. You know, I've had Joaquin my whole career. I've had Magic my whole career. I've had all these JJ. I've had him my whole career. And then now we got the addition of Gray Maynard, who's quickly became a big part of my training. And now it's to the point where that's another guy that's right up there at the top for me. And I'm balancing all that out, you know, it's all hands on deck. Everybody's helping me and we're all going through this together. It's just trial and error. And I think right now is the perfect mix that I have. And I think I did get lost for a while. I did get lost in the sauce and got kind of carried away with things that just aren't me. You know, I'm not saying I'm not a good striker. I am, but I'm also a good wrestler. And my game is best when I can blend everything together and bring a package that nobody else can bring. And I feel like when I'm firing on all cylinders and I'm 100%, I'm one of the best in the world. And I truly do believe that. So it's about time that I go out there and I put it in the cage rather than just show it in the gym. And I'm just ready, man. I think another thing is like this fight, I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody, you know? For a long time, I was carried away with trying to prove to people I'm not just a wrestler. Because if there's one thing I can't stand in this game, it's a boring-ass wrestler. That's the worst shit you can be. Actually, that's a lie. There's two things I hate in MMA. I hate a wrestler that can't strike, and I hate a striker that can't wrestle. And I despise when they complain about it. Because this is
all you wanted to do was wrestle me, bro.
And that's what it's all about, man. At the end of the day, we're all fighters, and people don't want to watch that shit, man. Whatever you do, be entertaining at it. If you're gonna be a wrestler, be a fucking good one. Be a firecracker, dude. Go out there, put somebody on their shit. Like that. There's a big difference between a lay and pray ass dude and somebody that's going out there and fucking pushing the pace and breaking people's will and just completely having their way with them. There's a big difference, and that's me. That's what I want to do.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about was I've noticed in your time away after the Ultimate Fighter, I've noticed you've been hitting a lot of different spots to train. Talk to me about that, man, because when I first got around MMA, boxing, and jiu-jitsu, man, it was around 2006, 2007. And back then you didn't have a lot of places that were like all in one spot. So I always find it cool when you see fighters go and get different looks from different places. Doesn't mean you're changing teams or anything, but just getting different looks. Talk to me a little bit about the looks that you've been getting while you've been getting ready to get another fight.
It's been cool, man. I mean, the good thing about this sport is that it's like led me to some amazing places and I've met some amazing people. So I've built some good relationships along the way, and I've been able to leverage all those relationships to, you know, maximize my training, maximize my knowledge, maximize my experiences in the sport. And I just use every avenue that I can possibly have. Luckily for me, Coach Joaquin isn't the jealous type that doesn't want you to go anywhere else. You know, our gym is far, far, far from culty, and there's a lot of gyms nowadays that are culty. They don't let you go anywhere else. You almost have to like praise your master.
I've heard it a bunch over the years, man.
It's so weird, man. That's so bizarre to me. And you know, like knowledge is power. And if you can get knowledge, go places and travel and experience things and bring it back to your team and share it with your guys and raise the level of the room, that's the key, you know? I bring everybody up around me. Whenever I go learn something, I come back, I show my guys, and we all work it together, you know? Luckily, I've been able to I have good relationships with everybody in Mexico, so I go train every time I'm back home visiting my family. I stop in Guadalajara and I train out there, and those are some killers out there, man. It's an up and coming gym. They got a lot of up and coming guys and really, really tough room, especially at my weight class. You know, they got the four. I'd go as far as to say that they got the four best 135ers in the country of Mexico. So it's a big deal, you know, to get to work with them. They have a great coach, Coach Will. They have a great staff, and it's a good place to be. I've been linking up a lot with Dante Leon and Max Hansen down in Toledo, Ohio. That team, Adamas Jiu-Jitsu, has done a lot for me, helping me out, changing my game, you know, just teaching me new things, new ways to maximize my potential in the sport of jiu-jitsu and also convert it over in MMA, because Adamas isn't your typical modern jiu-jitsu place where all they do is play legs, you know. They have a wrestle up mindset. They wrestle, they're hard-nosed, they have a good pace, and the room is crazy tough, you know. Dante is one of the best grapplers in the world, and Max Hansen is right there on his tail. So it's cool to learn from those guys. Obviously, you know, I'm really good friends with TJ Laramie, so he's been a big part of my preparation over the last, 8 months now. I link up with him whenever he has a fight. I have a fight. Actually, my fight simulation for this fight was with TJ Laramie, you know, so he gave me a good look to prepare. And yeah, I mean, just everywhere, man. Vegas.
You did some stuff with Yair too, didn't you? You were telling me about that when I saw you in Chicago for Bellator.
Yeah, man. Who are you talking about? I'm literally with everybody.
I know, but that's why I was saying Yair. You were saying you were going with Yair Rodriguez and
down in Mexico. Like I said,
Yep.
man, we're all over the place. I thought you said someone here. I was like, who?
No, I was saying Yair. My bad, because I remember when I saw you at Bellator, we were chopping it up about it. I think you had said you just found out that they wanted you to come down there.
Yep.
Is Guadalajara where Alexa Grasso is training out of? Too,
no, Yair actually trains in a separate place. He trains at this gym called Cagers, and it's like a new gym that his manager made up, or he built it from ground up. You know, it's a new place. It's like super state of the art. It's almost like I'd compare it to like the PI type of deal, you know.
Okay.
But Alexa Grasso, her gym is Lobo, which is also close by Samurai FC, which is where I train in Mexico, and they got a lot of good bodies there too. They got people like they got Irene Aldana there. They got Diego Lopez there. He splits camp between there, Las Vegas, and his own gym. I believe it's called Brazilian Warriors, and that's in Monterrey, I believe, something like that. But I mean, that dude stays super busy, you know. So he's another guy out there that's real tough, and he's someone I actually want to get some work in with too.
Yeah, that's why that's actually why I was asking. I knew he was really popular in the area, and with them training in the same. Yeah, he's making a name for himself real quick. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, that's like a perfect situation for a debut too. You know, you get put in there with the top 15 guy, and you give him a run for his money. Some people might have even said he could have pulled that one off, man. You know, it was a real close fight. If I remember correctly, I think that was a split decision.
Yeah, I believe it was.
So I mean, it doesn't get better than that. And then a great performance in his second fight, and now he's going at it again. I mean, shit. Let's see how far he can take it, man. I'm always rooting for all the guys, especially guys that I know are good people, and guys that I really support. You know.
Yeah, totally feel that, man. Like I said, I just like seeing that because to me, it just reminds me of the old school days, kind of. And I feel like doing it that way, a lot of times you get a lot more looks. And with you trying to compete at the level that you are, I mean, the amount of good looks you get, the more amount of good looks you're getting and getting in to be in those rooms like you're talking about, it only is going to benefit you come fight time. Well, now that we've talked about what you've been doing outside the cage and your time after the Ultimate Fighter and all those things, man, talk to me about Fury FC, man. It's another good platform for you to be coming back to. It's going to be in Texas, so you're not going to freeze your balls off like here in Detroit. Tell me about this fight in Cameron Smotherman. How are you feeling about this fight, and how do you see it going?
I think it's a great matchup. Dude's super tough, super active, and I've been watching him for a while. Obviously, you know, I like keeping a close eye on the entire landscape of my weight class. Right, you know, with other people that are in the similar positions I'm in, people that are, you know, fighting for titles in other organizations, things like that. People that I might cross paths with down the line. So I guess it paid dividends this time around because Cameron Smotherman is a dude that I've been watching fight for a while now. He stays super active, and I got nothing but respect for him. But I'm definitely ready to go do my thing out there. You know, I'm coming into his hometown, to his home promotion, and main eventing in his area. You know, I'm in his backyard. So there's no such thing as bad energy, if you ask me. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to steal all that energy. I'm going to go out there and put on a great performance and come home with the win and keep it moving, man. I think this is a big deal, you know. It's a super big fight, especially for two guys that are right on the cusp of the UFC. You know, obviously we both took L's on Contender, so this one's make or break. You know, it's a big deal. It's a great opponent, and there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this one. You know, it's been getting a lot of coverage, and I'm super excited about it. That's the only way that I would want it, you know. I feel like life's about rolling the dice, and that's exactly what I'm here to do. So I'm super, super excited about the matchup, super excited about the challenge, and I'm ready to go out there and get it done.
What do you think is going to be the – go ahead.
I was just going to say Fury FC is a solid organization, too. It's not like you're coming back to just some, you know, no-name local organization. Fury FC, right on Fight Pass, solid organization to jump back to. But what were you going to say, Kyle?
Well, I was going to say, now that you brought it up, you know, that said, you know, the only thing is, man, IG was trying to catch me up in this promo stuff. All these promotions that got damn Fury in it. I'm trying to do too many different things in it. And I look and good look on the lookout. I'm like, damn it. That was definitely not what was supposed to be there, or at least wasn't what I was trying to tag. So like he said, you know, Fury FC is another one that I've been keeping up on too, with them being on UFC Fight Pass. And I like watching them, like LFA. Same like you said, you know, that's one thing we've always prided ourselves on as a show, is trying to get people both. We're not just trying to get UFC guys and Bellator guys and Bare Knuckle FC guys and all these things. We want to get the people before they get in there too, because I mean, you're getting high level regional fights. That's what you're getting in this matchup with Cameron Smotherman. So I know I, for one, am looking forward to seeing that fight. But that leads into something else I got to ask you about. You know, you got to jump on the commentary desk with us at Lights Out Championship for another high caliber MMA fight with a guy who also brought your name up when he was on the show in Askar. So talk to me about that, man. What were your thoughts with the commentary game?
Dude, it's way harder than I thought it was, bro. Like, I thought like when I'm just watching TV, like watching fights at home, especially with like regular people, you know, people that don't fight or whatever, I can talk my ass off. Like I can talk great.
Mm-hmm.
I make it sound so good. And then all of a sudden I hear myself on the mic and the little thing. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I sound like a dumbass. Dude, it was tough. It was tough. But it was fun, man. I think it's something that I like it. You know, it's fun. It's just kind of hard to you know, think of something and put it out there right away. Like you got to really turn over quick.
Yeah, that's a good point. As somebody who's now only done it 2 or 3 times, it's same type of feeling. Like you say, hearing yourself back and stuff. It's like, come on, man, you could have said that better. You could have clarified that word. You could have spoke with a little, say it with your chest. You know, you could have. Yeah. There's so many different moments where you're like, man, you could have, should have, but in the end, it's like what I've noticed at least is my way of doing it at least is always try to add, and just it's better to not say something if it's not going to add to the conversation or add a solid point to the commentary. You know, it's better to not sit on there and bullshit your way through it basically than it is, you know, try to add solid points. And if you don't have nothing solid to say, then, you know.
Yeah.
Nah, man, but it's cool. Like for me, my first time getting to do that was doing wrestling. Like was doing this stuff for Henry Ford for a while, and then I've done the last 6 lights out, I think. So, like I said, it's definitely something, and especially for me, like coming from the wrestling world too, man. Like I like to try to throw like that kind of flavor in it too. So, I mean, with 7 years of doing the show and doing that stuff, that's real cool. I actually just got to watch back the main event that had Askar and Austin Bashy. I didn't realize they put it out on YouTube. And you're right, when you hear it back, it's like, oh shit, like, this, even though, I mean, I guess it's a little different now that I've done the show for a while, but like totally the first couple times when you hear yourself talking and it hits you where you're like, oh shit, so I'm the one that's got to tell these people what's going on in this fight.
and then knowing the fact that like fighters like yourself will go back and be like, well, what, they'll watch that tape 20, 30 times. They'll eventually have to mute my dumb ass because they're like sick of hearing, they're sick of hearing my ass fucking commentate over it. So I could just imagine, like opponents going and watching tape on their, potential future opponents and stuff. And it's like, all right, like you say, Kyle, it's a two-sided sword hearing yourself back. That's for sure. It's better doing it live than it is hearing yourself back. That's for sure.
Well, remember, Jimmy Smith said it on the show when he came on here. He said when he watches fights, he mutes the commentary because he don't want to hear it because he's called so many fights and all these things. So I could totally see where that's a thing. And that's a guy who does commentary, been doing commentary for a living for how long? For UFC and everywhere else, man. So it's definitely a thing. But like you said, it's another cool skill for you to have outside of fighting. You talk about getting back in the, why didn't we ever get to see a Mando? Wow, there's a question. Why didn't we ever get to see a Mando Gutierrez versus Austin Bashy fight?
To be honest, man, I think the reality of it is there's a couple times, I'm sure his name hit my desk and my name hit his desk. I think the big deal is we're both surging prospects out of Michigan. That's a fight that's not supposed to happen here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel that.
Like the thing about Michigan is that we have the best fans in the country, in my opinion. We really do have the best supporters and the best fans in the world. I love repping Michigan. Obviously I wasn't born here. I'm not from here. I moved here to fight, and it quickly became like my home. Like I represent Michigan, And the one flaw that I see is that everybody always wants everyone to fight each other. Like the key is like everyone builds their guys up and they go to the national and the world level, and that's where they have all their fun, But here the job is sell tickets, win big fights, and get the fuck up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's trying to fight in Michigan forever. And sometimes you do still see that. This isn't a jab at anybody. I respect anybody that steps in the cage. Everybody that steps in the cage. And I mean that. But there's guys that have been fighting that have like backwards ass records. They're like 30-20. You know what I'm saying? And they're still fighting on the local scene because all they did was take all these tough fights that didn't make sense for their career. They could have done something with themselves. They could have made it to the big show, and they never did. And I think that's what every time that fight was brought up or talked about by any promoter, nobody ever even wanted to do it because they knew that they knew where both of us belong. They knew where both of us are supposed to be, and that's that. Like look at it. Look at Abe Al-Sahir for example.
Yep.
They're bringing guys in from Ohio for him. Jake Scott, they're bringing guys in from Ohio, Iowa, Chicago, all these other places. That's how you do it. You win big fights. You establish yourself as a top prospect, and they bring in tough fighters from out of state, and we beat up the people in other ponds, not our pond, and then we make it out. And I think that's how it's supposed to be.
And that even ties into the other side of our show with pro wrestling. I mean, you want to do it where you're going to make the most money. You want to build it up where it's going to make the most money. If you guys fight on the regional scene and, somebody takes a bad loss or whatever it is, well, now you've derailed somebody on the way up. So yeah. I totally understand that. But since somebody's asking about it, what'd you think about his last fight since you were there, same as we were, man? Like, since I just watched that back.
I told you from the jump, man. The thing about it is like, real quick, going back to what we were just talking about, the one last thing I want to say about all that is like, you know, when you start working your way up the ladder, there's nothing left to be said about somebody's reputation. There's nothing left to be said about somebody's like persona or who they are as a person, you know, or their character. I've never said no to any fight in my life, and I'm sure Bashi hasn't either. Askar hasn't either, and that's why we're getting to that pinnacle. You know, we're getting to that point where we're right there and we're almost breaking through. But the thing is, the fight game isn't as big as people think. So sometimes that leads me into the question now. You asking me how I felt about his last fight. It was a really weird for me because I'm friends with Bashi, but
You're
I'm
friends
also
with
really
Askar.
good friends with Askar. He's my boy from back home. We cross trained together. So it was really weird for me to be sitting there watching that fight, you know. It was almost awkward, you know. I didn't even want to. I don't know. I can't even describe it to you, you know. But I was incredibly impressed with the fight, the way it went. That's not at all how I saw that fight going. I thought it was going to be a war, man. And the first round was crazy. The first round went exactly how I thought it was going to go, you know. But Bashi really turned that shit around and got it done in the second. And I mean, proved everybody right. You know, he showed why he's the next guy up.
Even though it was a shorter fight, I would almost argue that if I would even argue that even though Joe Penafiel that Austin fought was a really tough fight, I would argue that that fight with Askar still may have been his
Man,
toughest test
man.
because
Oh, of course. Dude,
well,
his
that's
first
why
round
I
was
said that,
real.
because you could see it, like you said, in the first round. Like, you watch that first round, Askar was doing a good job of defending the wrestling, being able to get his back off the cage. He had a couple times where he had the double underhooks and all that, and we know he wasn't trying to wrestle him all the while he's trying to strike. So in a lot of scenarios, he was doing exactly what he said he wanted to do on the show. But I think the biggest thing that I saw that was a little different in this fight for him versus some of the other ones I've seen was that Austin struck a little more than we've seen him do in his last few fights. And I think that was ultimately the key that helped lead to that takedown, which ultimately ended up getting him to get his back and so on and so on. But either way, it's definitely a good fight. He says,
It
what
leads
good?
into what you were saying earlier, Mondo. Like what we'll see with Austin later is the best version of himself. Also, like you were saying, is somebody that can mix it up and do the best of both worlds. And I feel like that's what we seen, that version of him in this fight, compared to where we've seen mostly the dominant wrestling, the top game where he's controlled people and then ended up ground and pounding them usually to a finish, maybe finding a sub along the way. But this one, he really mixed it up really well, and I feel like that was what kept Askar off his game essentially in that second round.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something he most likely was not preparing for, you know? He was probably preparing for like a grueling 5-round wrestling pace.
And
But
that's how he's
yeah,
fought mostly as a
back to
pro.
the Pacquiao thing, bro. Of course, Askar was a harder fight, way tougher fight, simply because I mean, the thing about Panafiel is everything he does is ugly. Like, to be honest with you, it's just ugly. It's weird, and the technique is really off. So it's hard to get a read on guys like that. It's hard to fight guys like that because you can't get them to react the way you want them to react. So, I mean, no matter what, that's going to be an ugly fight. He's one of those guys that's going to make you fight a fight that you don't want to fight, if that makes sense. So,
Totally.
regardless, I knew that's what it was going to be for him. I knew that's what it was going to be for me, because if we look back, like, I was supposed to fight him one time right before I got called up for Contender Series. So I was already prepared for that type of fight as well. I was like, fuck, I'm going to be the first dude to finish him, though. That's what I was thinking. I was like, dude, I'm going to be the first guy to finish him, get his ass up out of there, and call it a day. And nope, never ended up happening. Obviously, I went a different way, but we tried to make that fight again afterwards. But he's with Game Bread making the big.
I was
bucks
about to
now.
say, yeah, he's doing bare knuckle. He's doing the bare knuckle MMA over there, and it's crazy too, because 2 weeks after he fought Austin, he fought on Masvidal's MMA card and beat a 9-0 kid from Moldova from ATT.
Did
with
you watch
King
the
Mo.
fight though?
Yeah, I watched it.
Man,
I mean, hey, bro.
You know what they say sometimes about these undefeated guys though is that they're the easiest to break.
They
A
haven't
lot
been tested.
of guys
Yeah.
that
Well,
are
I
not-
feel like that was the difference for him in that fight, really, because he just stayed pressure on that guy from the opening minute. He never really got to really get open or do any, because that was the big thing they were talking about with that guy before the fight was, okay, dude can strike and he can wrestle and do all that. But like you just said, Penfield just never gave him a chance to ever set up, get smooth or anything of the
get
sort.
settled in. You can't.
Yeah, man. So-
That's one thing about Penfield that everybody has to respect, man, is he's a gamer and he's always in your face and he's there to scrap, bro. They call him a party for a reason, bro. He really is there to party.
And
He don't care.
bro, he'd be perfect for pro wrestling, man, because the way he was fucking pissing people off when he was walking out to the cage, man, I thought we were gonna have to
Dude,
have
he's
somebody
full
to
blown.
get.
Dude, when I was at that weigh-in because that was my little brother's UFC
Debut, right?
Or my little brother's MMA debut.
Yep.
And we were at that weigh-in, and Penfield walks up, bumping classical music to the weigh-in. When we're in the foyer, we're not even in the weigh-in venue yet. We're in in the hallway.
Yeah, I get you.
And he walks up to Bashy all dehydrated and headbutts him. But I'm not talking about like a little huh. No, he went boom right into his face. I was like, geez.
Damn.
Yeah, man.
It was weird, bro. I was like, dude, you're about to lose your fight right now. Like, it was one of those where I was concerned. I was like, dude, I hope
Don't
he
let
didn't
him get
get
cut.
fucking whiplash or something.
Boy went too far.
But he gets in fights at a lot of his weigh-ins, man. So that's just, I guess, the way he rolls. But I mean, like you said, I was just pointing that out for the simple fact of just it being tough fights. What were you gonna say?
I thought. Go ahead, Kyle. I was going to
No.
ask a completely different subject.
No, you were straight. I was about to change that subject as well. Now that we've talked about what you've got coming with Cameron Smotherman and all that stuff, I know, like you've said earlier, that you're a student of the game. So I got to get your thoughts on a few of these topics, bro. First of all, we chatted up with Zoe Nowicki of Team USA doing the pancration and making her pro MMA debut and all that as well. We asked her, what do you think about what we heard come up with USADA and now how there's going to be a new company over the UFC? How much do you think that? Yeah, Drug-Free International. So how do you think that that's going to affect like the overall MMA pro game?
I don't think it's going to change, bro. I really don't. Here's the thing. This isn't any other sport where you can just cheat your ass off and then hope you don't get caught. People's lives are at stake when it comes to fighting. People will fucking die in that cage if somebody's really cheating their ass off like that. Are people cheating? Absolutely. Guarantee it. A lot of people are cheating. But at some point, they're all going to get caught. And they can only cheat a certain amount because you're going to get caught. And Drug-Free Sport International, nothing's really going to change. It's the same people, it seems like. Same people are going to be doing doing all of the heavy work. But the difference is it's going to be more catered towards the fighters, from my understanding, at least. From what I sat there and listened to that entire interview, that entire press conference, and the main people that are working with the UFC, overseeing the whole USADA situation and things like that, they were the ones that were up there along with Campbell, and they're talking about how this is going to be more catered towards the fighters in terms of when they're collecting, what days they're collecting, stuff like that, because USADA is dead set on this whole random drug test, random piss test, random collection times, and it's completely random, supposedly, when it's all people in the U.S. and people in remote countries aren't going to be accessed as easy. Simple as that. And they'll pull up on you at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning on weigh-in day. Get out of here, man. Hell no. Hell no. Like, I'm not saying like it shouldn't be random. It's probably still going to be random, and I hope it is, but it shouldn't be to piss you off. Like, that damn near, like, if it's random and it says 5 o'clock on weigh-in day, are you really going to, like, man, just random it again? Like, just hit the button again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They could do with someone else at a different time. Like, are you serious, really?
One thing I was seeing that they were bringing up is like the whereabouts stuff. They're going to be a lot more, not necessarily lenient, but I guess like not necessarily have to constantly keep an updated schedule of where you're going to be, 2 weeks in advance on this, just to keep USADA happy, essentially. And then secondly, they were also saying that they've been trying to work with USADA to make like some type of app or something so it'd be easier for the fighters to give their whereabouts so that they could, be tested when the time was there. And USADA was basically unable to help them fulfill that. And so I'm assuming, like you say, I think it's just going to be a lot of the same in most regards, except for maybe a little bit more helpful for the fighters. They're still going to have to do their drug tests. They're still going to have to do their regular routine, but it's going to be a lot more lenient and on their schedule, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Well, and they also said that even with Conor, from the way it's been sounding, it sounds as though they've been giving him a hell of a time now that he's back in the drug testing pool for the last few months while USADA is still in control of all that stuff. So with that said, and you getting to train with Conor and getting to see Chandler and how he works as well, who do you like in that fight? If that fight ever ends up getting to happen at some point in 2024, how do you see it going?
Man, Conor will blast his ass. You go knock him the fuck out, bro. I'm not even talking about that, man. 100%. And I'm not just saying that because he was my coach. I truly do believe the dude hits like a Mack truck, bro. He hits you one time, you're going to sleep. And Michael Chandler's the type of guy that will most definitely stand right in front of you and trade. Absolutely. And, to his credit and to his downfall, it's the best of both worlds in his end. Because that's why he puts on such exciting fights, but that's also why he fucks around and gets dropped sometimes.
Yeah, you can't argue that he's not one of the most entertaining fighters, though, for that reason.
Yeah. Entertaining for sure, but I said it as soon as they even mentioned that they were going to be the coaches of that. I definitely feel like this matchup was made because they know you got a guy like Chandler, even if he comes out there trying to wrestle Conor at first, at some point that fight's going to break down into a brawl. Mm-hmm. And because of that, it couldn't be I agree with you on that. It couldn't be a better matchup for Conor if Conor comes back and fights like Conor. If Conor fights in a counter fight, go ahead.
I don't see Chandler as two things. I don't see him as a major submission threat.
Nope.
And I don't see him as a major cardio threat either,
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get him in the first couple rounds, I totally can see that too.
Both of those guys get tired. That's a both of them circumstance for sure.
Definitely, but when they both get tired, is he still gonna be able to take Conor's big ass down, or is he gonna, or is it gonna turn into like a back and forth trade, like third round Justin Gaethje and Chandler type of deal, where they're sitting right in front of each other going like this? I mean, I doubt he's gonna wave Conor forward. You know what I'm saying? And Conor's a sharpshooter, man. No, doesn't matter how tired he is. If he can touch you, he can drop you.
That's why I say it's a good matchup for Conor because, like I said, that's the type of fight he wants. We all know he doesn't really want to wrestle with somebody. I think the story of that fight comes down to, can Michael Chandler discipline himself enough to try to use his wrestling versus getting goaded into a striking battle? Because I think, like you said, a striking battle is what would favor Conor McGregor. We're going to have to see how he does as far as taking shots in that, but obviously he was training throughout the Ultimate Fighter and all that as well. So it's going to be interesting. It's interesting to see how that plays out. I just hope we get to the point where we actually have that fight. But
one question I forgot to ask you earlier while we were on the Ultimate Fighter topic, a lot kind of in the media side, at least, was being brought up about the fact that this was one of the shortest recording times that you guys were in the house for. Did you feel that experience? Like you said, you were dealing with kind of the TV crunch and stuff like that, but did you feel that as one of the contestants on the game show that is the Ultimate Fighter?
Yeah, it was shorter. It was rushed. It was a lot of things, bro. And I don't want to talk bad about it. I'm not trying to, but to be honest with you, they did not do that show justice. There was so much, like, if they did their job right, everybody on that show would have been a meme on fucking Instagram by now. There was some funny shit that happened with everybody there. They could have really got some clicks and really got some real traction behind this season, but they didn't show any of the cool stuff, man. You know what I'm saying?
And they used to show all that back in the day. I remember. You remember when Crookshank got hit in the balls and then jumped up and like super kicked that guy?
I understand with the like coaches time commitments, we'll say, with the Conor McGregor being who
But
Conor
he
McGregor is and stuff.
gone.
But like,
He wasn't gone. That's
Yeah.
not true. He was at practice damn near every day.
yeah. So, but what I was gonna say was like, I remember what made part of the show so fun growing up and stuff and watching it was they would do the dumb little like coaches versus coaches challenges and stuff like that. I know they tried that with the whole ice tub thing, but that didn't seem to really pan out the way that they were hoping for. They used to have more elaborate games and stuff like that that had some type of repercussions before, and I feel like they, like you said, they kind of stepped away from all of that and made it just kind of, here's fighter A taking on fighter B. Here's 5 minutes of their backstory. Here's 5 minutes of their backstory. Here's weigh-ins. Here's fights, and it's like they didn't put enough personality in it for the
Yeah.
viewership.
Like, I met some of the coolest people I've ever met on that show. Like, I got something to say about everybody. Like Jason Knight's entire, like everyone had their little cubby like section of like a pantry, like their own pantry, and Jason Knight's pantry was straight sweets. I'm talking about honey buns, cosmic brownies, Snickers, nothing else, and that's really all he eats, bro. I'm not kidding you, bro. I'm not kidding you, bro. He will cook like. He'll make like, I don't know, everything that he would cook was like sodium bomb straight up. Like it had more salt on the edge of it than it did actual meat, bro. It was crazy. And
That's great.
Lee Hammond is the funniest person I've ever met, bro. Like he's so calm, cool, collected if you don't know him. Like he just keeps to himself. But then once you get to know him and you talk to him and he gets comfortable with you, that motherfucker can impersonate anybody, bro. And I'm talking about perfect, like nails it. Any accent, anything, and it's crazy how fast he can do it.
That's dope, man. Like that's like he said, that's one of the things I think that's changed the show. Plus, you did that dope ass mural while you were there. And that was cool to see when they showed that on the show. And
no, they didn't even show it on the show. I posted that. I got that from Connor's videographer.
Okay, cool. Okay, so you got that was what it was. I just remembered I had saw it somewhere. I couldn't remember if it was the show or social media, but that bitch was hard.
Yeah, dude, it was dope. I have it next to my pool table in the next room over.
Yeah, that's what's up, dude. And it's cool that you still got to do all that stuff and get to still do your thing while you're in the house. You got to find something to do to keep yourself busy. So, I mean, that came out sweet. Well, before I get you out of here, I got a couple more things I got to ask you about. Bro, the world has been talking the last few days when Francis Ngannou shocked the world. So you got to tell me, what are your thoughts on Francis versus Fury, bro?
I could have seen it both ways, man. I could have seen it both ways, but he definitely went out there and fought his ass off, and he definitely held MMA to the highest regard, He went out there and made everybody proud regardless. Obviously, you already know if this is an official bout and you're going out there and you're fighting the world champ, come on now, bro. You know it's gonna be home cooking through and through. Mm-hmm. You gotta get a finish. And if you don't, it's already lost, bro. And that's fine. He was fighting an unwinnable fight and he went out there and damn near won anyways. So
hey,
he walked away with the true definition of the people's belt on the night. He really won.
Everybody.
He won the people's minds and hearts with the way the knockdown. Honestly, the performance even from the first round. Like once I seen that he wasn't in there to just play around,
just to do it and get his money and go home.
He was in there to
no sideshow. That's for damn sure. And what I tell people is like, he's a real winner because he put himself in a position now where everyone's going to want a piece of that.
They're talking about him and Joshua now. Eddie Hearn was just talking about him and Joshua. And then the thing is, my whole thought going into that fight, honestly, was, who had to be the happiest in the world that happened? PFL. Because could you imagine if he'd have went in there and Tyson Fury would have just knocked his fucking block off in the second or third round and they haven't even gotten him in the PFL cage and they're already locked into a minimum of $5 million? Dude, that is wild.
But the performance that he was able to put on, man, and truly shocked the world. At least the fighting critics like myself, the people that watch all these fights all the time, man, I truly thought it was a puncher's chance. And for him to basically go out there and, like you say, with the home cooking that was involved, I thought he outboxed Tyson Fury for the majority of that fight. You can say the way that boxing scored, that the jab matters more and stuff like that, but any fighter will tell you damage and the way that Tyson Fury's face looked the day after compared to Ngannou, that tells the whole story right there. The fact that Ngannou was able to land all these shots, was able to keep the pressure on him, but also maintain his range and not put himself in any dumb positions throughout that whole 10-round fight. It was amazing, man. It was really, truly amazing to see the former UFC heavyweight champion, finally a MMA representative, go over to boxing and finally do something good for once.
And he got paid. This man, you talk about that. Did you guys notice the bag he was carrying around all week that said fumbled the bag? And then this man just got paid the biggest contract he's ever had in his entire fight career. And he ain't even made it to PFL, where he's got at least another $5 million coming. Like, bro.
And like you guys said, with the boxing opportunities that are left.
Dude, they're already talking about him and Joshua. Yeah. And I feel like that's a perfect fight for him. He could knock Joshua the fuck out.
They had Don Davis or whatever, the owner of PFL on Ariel Helwani's show talking about it, and he's like, man, I don't know if he's going to fight for us next, because there's not the opponents that we can bring in MMA aren't going to bring the amount of eyeballs that he can generate with a boxing fight. And for an owner of an organization, like you said, with so much invested into somebody, for them to even say that just tells you Francis Ngannou is winning right now.
Yeah. I think it's off to the races for every promoter out there, regardless, because the landscape of not just MMA, but combat sports is changing so much. We got fucking YouTubers out here making 5 times as much as the highest paid MMA fighter ever. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. There's money out there. Someone's got to get it, and it should be people that really know how to fucking fight. I don't care. The money's out there. Everybody, it should be off to the races right now. Everybody has to scramble and figure out how the fuck they're going to get that money out there, because there's only so much money going around in combat sports, and they have to figure out a way to make sure that shit stays here or here or here. You know, everybody needs to think of a way.
I feel that for sure, dude. Like I said, I feel like it's so dope that he was able to do that after all that. And now not only has he won in the boxing world, he's clearly still winning when he comes back over to MMA as well. But the last fight that I had to ask you about before we get out of here is, you got Jan and Yuri coming up. Obviously, we saw that the John Jones and Stipe fight isn't happening. So you got to tell me, how do you feel with Jan versus Yuri? And do you think that we'll ever get to see that Jones versus Stipe thing? And if we don't, do you think he'll actually fight the winner of them, Aspinall and Pavlovich?
I don't think John Jones is fighting again.
You think the pec injury is enough to call it a career on, huh?
To be real, I don't think he's fighting again. I'm not saying just because of the pec injury. I'm saying just in general, bro. It's been so long, and now just another long-ass layoff. Like, I just don't think it's really in the cards anymore. Especially Stipe. Do you really think Stipe is going to fight again, bro? He's been sitting around this long, bro. No
he
way.
Was pissed that they didn't put him in the fight against Aspinall and them. He's like, bro, I've already been off this long. You got me ready to fight. At least let me be the one to, to fight there. But I agree with that 100% because I'm a big Stipe fan. But I feel like this was going to be the last hurrah for him as well if that fight would have went down like that. Because to your point, I mean, John Jones really, if you pay attention, kind of said it when he came back. He's like, look, I'm coming back to heavyweight. But you knew he was going right for the title, and now that he's won the title and done it in such dominant fashion, he finishes off one or two more fights. I think that's going to be it for him. But I could also see
there's even going to be one or two more fights because there's nobody that who's driven to fight. He doesn't care.
Yeah, Stipe was the only real name that's left in the division, and even with, I mean, credit to the UFC, they pulled this amazing rabbit out of the hat with this Aspinall Pavlovich fight. That's an incredible heavyweight interim fight.
Aspinall's next up.
Yeah, that being said, I mean, it's still, I don't think with the doesn't matter how they win, it could be impressive as hell. They could get all the fanfare behind them. To your point, I don't think it's enough to get John Jones out of bed. I don't think
agree.
it's enough to, with
And
Stipe,
it's too much of a risk for
With-
nothing for Jones really to gain and everything for Aspinall, because you got to look at it.
Or
If Jones goes
Pavlovich,
in,
man. Pavlovich
either
could
one.
come out
But
there,
if Jones
yeah.
goes in there and beats either one of them, it's going to be, well, John Jones was supposed to beat him. But if he
Yeah.
loses to one of them guys, well, then it's already going to be, oh shit, well, John Jones is going down the hill. So I agree with you. That could totally be where we end up with that. Who do you got with Jan and Yuri? Who do you like in that fight?
Yuri, all day.
Even off the injury, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you're
But-
living in the past with the Jan stuff, by the way. It's Pereira right now.
Pereira?
Oh, Pereira.
Yeah.
Why am I saying
Yeah.
Pereira?
Yeah,
Why
you
did
said John.
I
was like, what?
I didn't mean
that's-
I misspoke. I didn't. Yeah. Oh shit. Yep, I misspoke. See, look at that. I misspeak, and then we gone. Yeah,
bad.
fuck it. You
My
straight?
bad.
No,
My
that
bad.
was on me.
Sorry.
I fucked it up in the first place. But yeah, dude, fucking Pereira. I like in that fight, man, especially with Pereira being hot like he was. Granted, he got caught by Izzy, but boy, I like Pereira in this fight.
Dude, Pereira for sure is winning that fight against Yuri, bro.
He's-
I don't know
it's-
why we all brain farted there. I was like, Jan, yeah, shit.
I heard it. I'm like, nah.
Don't mind me. It's been a long Thursday today, apparently.
It's gonna be.
No, for sure. Pereira, bro, is gonna get it done. Come on now. Especially the way Yuri leads with his head. Like, I mean, granted, he does it to draw punches out, but he ain't dealt with that Pereira speed. And it's not even that he's that fast. Like, he just puts them exactly where they're supposed to be.
It's that kickboxing background, bro. What I want to see is I want to see Pereira win, and I want to see him go fight Jamal Hill when he comes back. That's what I want to see. Let them two fight. I feel like that's going to be a banger, and I hope they put Jamal back to the title picture. But man, we have kept you for a long time. So for anybody that is on the fence, let them know where they can check out Fury FC, and if you got any last words for your opponent, let them know.
So yeah, you can check it all out on Fury FC next weekend. The main event for Fury FC Challenger Series 10, I believe. Me and Cameron Smotherman, man, about to be a show. I'm ready to bring the heat and put on a show for everybody, man. So hopefully everybody can tune in. All the information's on my Instagram, Mando Gutierrez. Check me out on Facebook, Mando Gutierrez MMA, and whatever else, man. Just check me out on there.
And with that said, man, you've got it out there. Check it out. UFC Fight Pass next week. Program note. We are only doing one show next week. We're going to be live, but we're bringing you a big show because if you guys pay attention in the world of wrestling, you now know that TNA Wrestling is back. It's no longer Impact Wrestling. And so we have Impact's first signing, our guy PCO, dropping through the show next Thursday. So there's a lot to talk about in the world of wrestling and all that too. And like we talked about on Wednesday, last night with Janai Kai, the goal is to hit 1,000 before the end of 2023. So all of y'all that are watching this, hit the subscribe button. And until next time, and in the in-between time, keep them hands up and check out this fight. Peace.